deciding whether I should review it or not. But the individual who sent it to me under the, I guess, the rules that I would at least try and review it. Now, I think I kind of suck at reviews, and especially reviews of solid product, because I'm reduced to having to look at the solid product with my phone, which is not the best way to look at solid product. That said, I appreciate being sent to this. I've looked through it a few times. It's a OSR D20 post-apocalypse gonzo science fiction fantasy game. I guess the reason why the person sent this to me is they knew I was a fan of the Ardern Grimoire, they knew I was a fan of Thunder the Barbarian, and they knew I was running a gonzo D20 sci-fi fantasy game every other Saturday on my channel. So I guess they figured I would like this. And there's a lot of stuff in this that I could easily see using for other games, a lot of the random tables and search the bodies and stuff like that. So let's go through it. Now, this was released in 2024. This is the second printing. It is an OSR game. It uses a modified D20 system. It has some really great art. It is a lovingly dedicated to Randy Macho Man Savage and the classic goofiness of the late 80s, early 90s gonzo sci-fi fantasy, Thunder the Barbarian, Wizards, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type stuff. That said, it's nothing new. Looking through this, I went, wow, I've seen this all before. This is just Mutant Crawl Classic. This is just Mutant Year Zero. This is just Gamma World. This is, but more people love this genre than I think we realize love the Thunder the Barbarian. We'll just refer to it as Thunder the Barbarian. The gonzo, chalt, sci-fi fantasy, retro 80s stuff. So you see a lot more of these games than you would think you would, because I guess a lot of people really want to role play in sort of the riffs, gonzo, fantasy, sci-fi future that games like this present. And I love the punk outlook to it. I love the zine, black and white. This looks like you printed it up at home. Outlook to it, but it's it's 300 some odd pages. So it's really you can't really say it's a zine printed at home punk type game, because I'm sure this costs like 60, 70, $80, especially since it was the Kickstarter. So this is from the Kickstarter, I think. From what I understood, the individual who sent it to me received 2 copies, whether that was on purpose or accidentally. He got 2 copies of everything, so he sent me the extra copy, which also included a bunch of supplements, a whole book of new classes, an adventure, and a couple other things that may or may not find their way into my Saturday game. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I mean, I've already running a D20 game. I might sell this. I might trade it to somebody. I don't know. I'm grateful that they sent it to me to review, but as always, it's like, I don't need this. I'm never going to run it. I'm never going to play it, but there are tables in here I might use. So yeah. There's nothing new, okay? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen before. It's just doing it in a fun kind of 80s retro blockbuster surf punk Southern California style of gaming attitude. Definitely some influences from Arduin, definitely some influences from the late 80s, definitely the influences from Thunder the Barbarian, Gamma World, Mutant Crawl Classic, that whole subgenre of chalt. Shout out to Chalt, shout out to Venger, gonzo, role-playing. In fact, maybe I'll ask Venger if he wants to take a look at this. Hey, Venger, you want to take a look at this? So it's got tables for randomly generating everything from hairstyles, and you build your character partially around the hairstyle. Then you have all the classes and races. This does use class as race. It also lists what the theme of each race and class is, which I really like. So like this is a fantasy Western, and this is mutant unicorns. And what you get when you level. So this is a race as class. Then we have the fantasy wrestling barbarians, inspired by Randy Savage. So you see how he's done, this is a fantasy wrestling character. So it's both the class and the race. Here we have Terminators, science fiction cult classic. And all the things you can get. And now here we got science fiction fantasy, guys who dress up like, things. So all the classes are heavily inspired by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, post-apocalypse, Macho Woman with Guns, 80s. I mean, here's a class called Heathers. The 80s, Roger Corman exploitation films, another homage to Randy Sandwich. Just another loving dip into the retro 80s nostalgia, early 90s nostalgia of the world that was back then. And you can definitely see the much more, the influence of the New York punk culture, the influence of the Southern California punk culture, the influence of the Oxnard punk culture, definitely a lot of punk culture, and the zine culture, and just that whole late 80s, movement. We revisit the 80s so much, I think, for a lot of us, because we're just somehow just glued to the nostalgia of that decade and what it was supposed to be, our memories of it. I often refer to it as, when I'm talking about the 80s and I'm talking about these games, or when I'm talking about Tales from the Loop, it's like the 80s for a lot of us was that beautiful melancholy, that last great summer of childhood. It's like, doesn't matter when you were, what part of the 80s you were in, whether you were, young enough to be born in the 80s, or you were born in the 70s and lived through the 80s, or were born late 80s, early 90s. It's, if you experienced any aspect of it, it just somehow clings to our souls, much the same way the 50s and the 60s clings to the souls of our parents. And for our children, I guess it'll be the 2020s, where they'll be nostalgic for. If I had a child now and they're 40, they'll be like, oh, I remember the 2020s, man. Yeah, I remember COVID. Remember the OGGM. Yeah. So that's why this thing happens. That's why we just constantly revisit this genre. So I love this. I love this idea. I'm a big fan of Race's class. I like the idea that they have fleshed out every possible level of Race's class. In previous games where you had Race's class, a lot of the classes felt, no, I haven't watched the Deadpool movie yet. I want to, but I need somebody to take me to go see it. I thought somebody would take it to me for my birthday, but they didn't. Of course, my birthday ended up being a disaster. That's a separate story. So yeah, look, all the classes, all the races, what each class can do. And we got, of course, guns, because you can't have a Gamma World Rifts science fiction, fantasy, post-apocalypse without guns. Everything's explained with comics. I like that. There's nothing in here I dislike. It's just stuff I've seen. It's just another unique way to capture that, I don't even know what to call it, that retro 80s games that never existed, the retro post-apocalypse 80 that never existed. What type of book is this? This is the rule books for the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wastelands. It was sent to me by one of our followers. I guess they kickstarted it, and either they received double the amount of Kickstarter material, or it was one of the Kickstarters where you get two. I don't really know, but he sent me a copy of everything he received. It included the rule book, these two supplement books, a lot of printed out stuff, adventures and random tables. Some of those random tables, I will find them way into my Saturday game. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this afterwards. I'm never going to run it. I doubt I'll ever play it. I don't want it to just sit on my shelf gathering dust. There are definitely things I'll steal from it, since I love the genre. But, Ardawan's coming out, and that's going to, get all my post-apocalypse fantasy sci-fi love. So there's things from here that I'll steal for my game. So look at this. We just got adventures. We got sample monsters. We got sample spells. It's everything you would expect to see in a player's handbook for any game. It's just specifically geared towards this sort of wacky, almost to the point of loss, where there's a lot of things where they're trying too hard to make it, punk. They're trying too hard, where there's some things where we just want math, right? There's just some things where we just want things spelled out to us, and not the goofiness. I mean, the goofiness as the wherewithal around the definition. You could have the goofiness, but then we need to see the actual math and the numbers and what you can and can't not do, and then you could have more goofiness, and you could sandwich it in between, right? Hello, Javeric. Hello, Jim. Hello, Levi. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Glad you're enjoying this. So here we have all the spells, and you can just see all the names are all references to just goofiness, video game goofiness, book goofiness, comic book goofiness, riffs, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. How much is it for? I don't know. I could look it up. I got it for free. Again, it was sent to me to review, which, something I'm horrible in. And I hate reviewing it on my phone. Guys, I'm really sorry, but that's all I have. We got psychic powers. And just look at the detail. These little things on the bottom. This is what makes games like this stand out. Because this is all stuff we've seen before. This is just classic game, just modified to fit this genre. But, these are all things we've seen. This is 50 years of stuff. But it's these little things here that make this funny. These little warnings, these little tattoos and stickers. That's what makes this game fun, because it's just playing with that retro mentality, that nostalgia, that 1980s, 1990s, late 70s punk zine. You made it on your printer. And photocopied 20 copies and handed it out at the Rat Whiskey or the Rat Skeller if you lived in the Valley, or you were just handing it out to friends at Jerry's or wherever. If you lived up Northern California, it depends on where you live. But if you were part of that scene, you were familiar with zines. I was, 1980. I mean, I'm old enough to have enjoyed the 80s, both good and bad. I'm also old enough to remember that the 80s were not as wonderful as people think it was, but we were promised things, in the 80s. Movies, TV, video games, comics, they promised us a future. And one of the futures they promised us was this goofy post-apocalypse of just ridiculousness. Movies like Wizards and TV shows like Thundar and He-Man. They showed us this, that the future doesn't have to be all cut and dry and cold, and it doesn't have to be Mad Max apocalypse. It can just be goofy. It can be gonzo. It can be anything you can think of can happen in this undefinable, bizarre future. And for a lot of us, we fell in love with that. And that's what this game appeals to. So again, just different spells for the different classes. Experience points, how to run combat. It's a D20 system with some modifications. They've changed the names of the stats, and they've changed the names of a couple other things. But it does say right in the front, it's an OSR. We've got these tables. These tables all look like they were printed out on somebody's printer and pasted up in the back room of your local store, right? And we got some random tables for luck and cybernetics and leveling up each class, reactions, drugs and addictions. I think that I would have put this earlier in the book, with lots of different types of drugs, all themed, diseases, standard stuff. What I doesn't have is an example character record sheet. Here's some random character generations, random mutations, traps, a table for asking Zoltan. So here's all the fun tables. Loot a dead doob. I'm already using this table for my game. The section on magic items. See, these are the things that you would steal. If you're going to steal this stuff from this game, it would be the random tables, the stuff like that. Chances are you have a D20 system that you like, or a system that you like. So I don't know if you're in the market for a new system or not. And you might already have a system that you like that this would work with, and if or you don't. I mean, Mutant Crawl Classic has already been out. Mutant Year Zero has already been out. Gamma World's out. Rifts is out. It's not like this is a new genre. Anybody else see the face hidden in the mountain there? These guys are just representing it in a new, fun way. I don't know how much this is cost. I'm going to assume it's 50, 60, 80 bucks for the Kickstarter. You know, it's 300 pages and plus all the amazing art. We got the history of the world, the map of what the world looks like, places of interest in the world, you know, like Las Vegas, Disneyland, stuff like that, LA, Hawaii. We've got a table for interdimensional stuff. We got a table for the hell. We got stuff about monsters. Here's some example monsters: Annihilator, Arachnoid, Bugbear, Corpse Eater, Ghast. All of them cyberpunked, post-apocalyptic. It's out. Meth Gator. More random tables. Lots and lots of random tables. Lots of great random tables. Games like this have to have random tables, I would say. I think. Yeah. Monster total, you know, critical hit tables, damage tables, rules for arm wrestling, rules for diving into a dumpster, i.e. searching the monster, rules for drunken brawls, rules for criticals and fumbles, rules for M is for mecha armor, suggested music, suggested cartoons, suggested movies, suggested video games, suggested tabletop role-playing games that have already visited this. So if you're looking for some suggested cartoons, Captain Planet, He-Man, Silverhawks, Thundercats, Thunder the Barbarian, Skeleton Warrior, Street Sharks, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Brave Star, Visionary, Spiral Zone, and Captain N the Game Master. Some of those I can remember. Here's all the movies that they recommend to get you into the theme. There's nothing on here that should be a surprise to anybody for recommended movies. Blade Runner, Mad Max, Escape from New York, The Warriors. Very few people acknowledge that The Warriors is a post-apocalypse movie. It is, you know. You watch The Warriors again sometime. It's an apocalypse movie. It's a very bleak. It might be one of the very first dystopian future movies, even though it's, you know, takes place in this mystical New York. Terminator, Starship Troopers, Tango and Cash. I'm not sure why Tango and Cash is on there. Total Recall, you know, just whatever. Ninja films. More random tables, random NPC table. Tables for being a goblin. Just random tables, just amazing world building. Amazing stuff. Thank you very much. And then it came with an adventure. This is not a hex crawl, it's a Hix crawl. It also came with additional classes for the game. So just in case there's not enough classes for you to fulfill your weird post-apocalypse fantasies, we've got some more. It came with a couple other things. Some of them got destroyed in shipping, but here you go. This is Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. It was sent to us by one of our YouTubers. It comes to us from Savage Systems, 16-bit rad RPG. It was written by Brian Shutter. Edited by Ryan Broyd. Use some vectors, some stuff. It's based upon Roll20. D20. The shout out to Gary and Dave. $50, and plus you can send in this proof of purchase to get something. It's an official Neon Lords seal of quality. It's rated T for teen. Definitely has that stuff you would see stapled to the bulletin board at the back of your local Blockbuster / hobby store / pizza parlor back in that time. The magical, mystical time of the 80s post-apocalypse. The year is 1997. A runaway comet hits the moon, you know, because all the promised futures that the movies promised us have come and gone. The date of Blade Runner has come and gone. The date of Mad Max has come and gone. The date of Star Trek has kind of gone. The date of Cyberpunk has kind of come and gone. We're in 2024, 2025. None of this has happened. We didn't get any of the post-apocalypses we were promised. So here's another game that's asking you to explore the possibilities of this weird future through the D20 game. Now, if I didn't already have a D20 post-apocalypse system that I was using, and I already hadn't promised that I was kickstarting Arduin when it comes out, this might be the game, for me. Definitely a lot of stuff in it. I like the feel of the game. I like the art, the way it's presented. I also think the way it's presented, it is trying to be gimmicky to its own disadvantage. That's something we talk about from time to time. We try too hard to make the gimmick work. The gimmick doesn't work. It's kind of like, Daggerheart, gimmicky for the sake of being gimmicky. And sometimes you just need cold, hard numbers, cold, hard fact. You can wrap the cold, hard facts around gimmick and lore and fun pictures, but sometimes you get so gimmicky, you're actually making it harder to read. So that's my first go through of Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. Again, it's Mutant Crawl Classic, it's Riffs, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's Gamma World, it's Thunder the Barbarian, it's Wizards, it's heavy metal. It's just taking something that we've done before, presenting it in yet another way. It gets extra bonus points for its acknowledgement of professional wrestling and the fact that it's dedicated to Randy Savage. I've got it here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I may give it away. I may sell it on something. I don't know. But there's definitely tables in here I'm going to use. So if nothing else, the random tables are worth it. I wish these guys a lot of luck with their Kickstarter if it's still going on. Hopefully there's people out there who want to play this. There you go. If you want to see me do something more or get deeper into this, let me know. I am planning on doing some solo plays for September, but it won't be this game. It'll be Villains and Vigilantes because, September's for superheroes. I'm the OG GM. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for tagging along on this adventure with me.